Vella, there's been quite a bit of controversy with the Suprelorin implant lately, and a lot of people are saying that you shouldn't get your ferret desexed, just have the Suprelorin implant, and others are saying that you should get both. What is the verdict, and which way is right?
It's a really good question, and really, the jury is still out on Suprelorin in ferrets. I think that in the next few years we'll have more of an understanding of what might be a better option to do. We don't really know what is the right option at this stage, and maybe we won't know what the right option is, but the basic nuts and bolts of it is that we know that desexing ferrets leads to them getting a much higher chance of getting adrenal gland disease. Now, adrenal gland disease is treatable to some extent. Now, Suprelorin is used in both the treatment of adrenal gland disease, and it can also be used to potentially prevent or minimise adrenal gland disease by giving it to a ferret who is not desexed to stop them from coming into season. So remember, desexing ferrets leads to adrenal gland disease. So if we don't desex our ferrets, therefore we think, well, they should not get adrenal gland disease. The problem is, with not desexing ferrets, especially jewels, is that they come into season. If they come into season, they potentially have life-threatening estrogen toxicity, they get bone marrow suppression, and they die of anemia and other bleeding complications. We can't have that. So in the past, people have either bred ferrets, so they have to be bred once they're on season, or they've used hormonal manipulation each time they come into season to bring them out of season so they don't get that problem.
So the Jill jab.
The Jill jab, now Suprelorin potentially can replace that sort of Jill jab, so it can actually render them chemically neutered for a period of time. You have to repeat it, it's not once off forevermore. As an alternative to some of the other hormones that have been used in the past and we still do use the Jill jabs, but potentially, with those sort of things, maybe you could consider that you're playing with fire with some of those hormones. It may, we don't know always, what sort of long-term effects that can have on the ferret, and whether it may spark them having uterine disease and so forth. The other issue is with male ferrets. Now, male ferrets, I know a lot of people that have kept ferrets for many, many generations of ferrets who have told me they would not stand having a non-neutered male ferret. Purely perhaps because of the odour. The odour reason. And they may also, potentially be a bit more prone to fighting and aggression and things like that.
Especially when they come in season.
So again, you can use Suprelorin in them too, and it may help reduce the level of their odour and so forth and so on. But amazingly, Stephanie, I've offered this to so many people, and they haven't taken it up. Most people still elect to get both their males and their females neutered, despite the fact that I've said, do you want to have the Suprelorin instead? A lot of people just aren't prepared to take that risk just yet, because the numbers and the figures and the evidence is not fully there yet. I think we're waiting. Next few years we'll see there'll be a generation of ferrets perhaps that have gone through it and have had it, and we can put the numbers and figures together and state what is the right thing. With the use of Suprelorin in ferrets, in jewels, I think what we'll probably end up seeing is that we'll have ferrets perhaps starting to be neutered at maybe 5 years and 6 years old. When we start to potentially see then that uterine disease is going to be on the rise. That's a theory. It's not proven, of course, but maybe at that age then, because we've had this female ferret intact for so long, i.e. not desexed, then we start seeing a rise in uterine disease. Now, you could look at it in one way medically and say, well, uterine disease sometimes can be a medical emergency. If there is a severe infection or something else going on in the uterus. It's not treat next month, it's treat now. Adrenal gland disease, on the other hand, well, in a lot of cases, especially in females, it's usually, we can treat that next week, next month even. It's not usually an emergency. Adrenal gland disease can become an emergency situation in male ferrets mostly,
Okay.
where if they get a very enlarged prostate gland, it can prevent them from urinating properly, which of course would be an emergency.
Yeah.
So you could view one hand and say, well, adrenal gland disease is somewhat treatable, manageable, and it's usually, we can do it in our own time.
Yeah.
Whereas the sequelae of not having them neutered and treating them with Suprelorin, we don't know the full effects yet, and so on. The other option is getting them desexed and using Suprelorin. I sort of like that theory, the theory behind that potential for that to work, because Suprelorin certainly on paper has the potential to minimise the onset of adrenal gland disease even in neutered ferrets. So it's something else we do offer. We do offer Suprelorin injections to ferrets at the time of neutering, and also for Suprelorin injections in ferrets that have already been neutered. As a way of potentially preventing the onset of adrenal gland disease.
Well, what's the difference? I know that some big cats just get the Suprelorin implant. So what is the difference between the big cats and the ferrets, and kind of like, is there any difference?
Well, we don't know the full difference yet.
Yeah.
We haven't had enough ferrets go through a lifetime of Suprelorin use yet. Or no one's put the numbers together for all the ferrets, or looked at significant numbers of ferrets to look at that, to see if the evidence shows us that it is going to be effective in that way.
Okay.
There is, certainly theory-wise, we think that it probably will work, and that Suprelorin will become have a much greater place in ferret preventative health. It has recently become licensed for use in ferrets in Europe.
Oh, brilliant.
And there is some push potentially to have it licensed for use in Australia as well.
Okay.
Even though it's used off-label all the time.
Yeah.
We use a lot of it.
Yeah,
so,
right.
And it's a product that's made just down the road here in Sydney. Well, so some parts of the world can have some problems with getting it, whereas we tend to be fortunate in, and it's usually available most of the time without issue.
Okay.
So look, it's a complicated story, and there are certainly probably two sides of the story to it, or more than two sides of the story to it. But I don't think anyone can really totally claim that we know the full story yet.
Yeah.
And next few years, I think we'll know.
Yeah.
Once we've had enough of this generation go through it.
Okay, so in the meantime, a lot of ferrets are guinea pigs.
Well, a lot of ferrets. Because not all ferrets get adrenal gland disease with being neutered, right?
Yeah.
So there's different theories to adrenal gland disease, but certainly the desexing thing is a strong one, and that's the main reason you're looking at Suprelorin. So there you go.
All right, beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks.